Hi everyone, this is Miracle Edet Okun here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, we are doing something very interesting, and in this episode, we'll be starting a series called The Wealth Identity Shift for Designers. And I hope you're ready for me because at the end of this series, you're going to become the person that wealth and money recognizes, right? So, let's begin. Now, before we start, I want you to understand a very important thing, and that is you're not broke because you do not have a skill. You're broke because you haven't built that identity that recognizes wealth. You haven't built that identity that can hold wealth. We have met photographers who are very good, but I notice a pattern. These people struggle to either pay their rent, to either feed, for transportation. They struggle in most areas of their life. Like these people are so good. I mean, I've met writers that can actually make you cry in just the first line sentence, but these people are finding it difficult to make wealth. Why? Because the version of them that is creating these things, that's creating these junior things, still identifies with the word struggling. And it will shock you to know that you can never out earn your self image. You can never out earn your self image. You will always attract money at the level that feels normal to you, not the level that you wish for, not the level that you crave for. No, that level that you are calibrated with, that level that is familiar to you, that is the level you will always attract money at. So it's not that you lack clients, it's not like you do not know your skill, it's just that the version of you has not identified with you recognizing wealth. Current identity does not know how to live where money lives. Let's talk about a strategy called identity. Strategy without identity is like giving, let's say, Mercedes Benz or a Ferrari to someone who only knows how to ride bicycle. They will crash it, right? That's why some people blow up on social media, get attention, go viral, and still end up going back to normal. Why? Because their internal thermostat cannot handle that level of success. Your business, your wealth are just like a mirror that is reflecting your identity back to you. So when I started taking graphic designing seriously, I was thinking that if I price my services low, I'll be getting more clients and all of that. I thought that if I increase my price, my clients will leave. I was charging based on value. I was charging based on how I saw myself. Let me tell you that poor self-image is equal to poor income. Then one day I told myself that if I do not respect my craft enough to price my services, why should I expect anybody to respect me and pay me high, right? And that was the day I started building a new identity, not the broke graphic designer kind of identity. The identity that understands money, the identity that will hold money, the identity that understands how money works. That's why most people are always like, why are you talking about money? I'm still building that identity. See, you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. And the biggest lie every creative tell themselves is this lie: once I make it, I'll feel successful. You might feel successful for a while, but as time goes on, your real identity will catch up with you. And that's how the wealthy people operate. You become before you earn. So this masterclass is about building that version of you. And by the time we are done, you will stop chasing money and start embodying money. Because when wealth becomes your identity, it stops running from you. So here's what we'll be doing in this series. We're going to be breaking down the to break down how identity forms and how it controls you. We're going to tear apart that limiting identity that's keeping you broke. And we're going to design and embody the identity of a creative who magnetizes wealth naturally. So let's go. Now, if you're going to shift your identity, you have to first understand what this identity really is because a lot of people do not know. They think identity is their name, their job, their Instagram bio. No. Your identity is your self concept. It is who you believe you are when no one else is watching, right? It is a voice that tells you, I am this kind of person, or I do not deserve this yet. That is your identity. And sincerely, that voice is what is keeping most creatives poor. So, what is really this identity? Identity is not what you say, it is what you allow. You might say you're a successful creative, but if your subconsciousness still feels like you're struggling, it will always find its way to confirm that story of struggling. And that is the law of consistency because humans will always act accordingly to what they are or who they believe they are. You will never outwork or out hustle a self broken image. And that is why people grind for years, people work hard for years, and they still remain stuck. They still remain at that same position they are. Why? Because their identity thermostat keeps pulling them back to that their real identity, to that comfortable struggle. Now think of your identity like a thermostat in a room. If you set it to 25 degrees Celsius and somebody comes in and opens the window, the thermostat will fight it to bring it back to that 25 degrees Celsius, whether it's too hot or it's too cold. And your identity works that same way. That is why if you make more money than usual, your identity starts sabotaging you. Your subconscious and starts sabotaging you, and it will make you overspend, to delay projects, or to just act anyhow until you lose that money and hustle back to what feels normal. If 20,000 naira is what is really normal to you, even if you make 2 million naira, you will spend that money till you go back to that 20,000 naira, because that is what feels normal to you. 2 million naira is another bigger face which you cannot handle. So you're going to fight so hard to go back to that $20, sorry, to that 20,000 naira. And the problem is what feels normal. If broke feels normal to you, you will always return there. And if abundance feels normal to you, you will always return to abundance. So the goal is not to chase money, the goal is to change, or to the goal is to raise your thermostat, to make wealth feel normal, not foreign. Identity is built from repetition and emotion. Identity is built from repetition and emotion. So that is why every belief you have about yourself today was programmed through experiences that repeated enough time to feel true. Now let's make it very practical. Let me take you back to when you were small. What things were you hearing about money? Oh, money is hard to get, rich people are wicked, rich people you must suffer to make money, all those things. They didn't just pass by your ears. They stuck in you and they become emotional imprints. And your brain, your brain is very loyal. Your brain will make it your identity. Now fast forward, you've grown, you're now a creative, you know how to do a skill very well, a particular skill very well, and you try to to sell your business, you try to raise your prices, you try to do something so well, but deep down that old idea of money starts telling you, if I price my service a little bit higher, that means I'm greedy. Rich people are wicked. So you now self sabotage. You now start taking low paying clients. You underquote, you over deliver, and you burn out. And you now call it humility. That's not humility. That's an unhealed identity. See, your brain is not loyal to success. Your brain is loyal to familiarity. And this is why some people fear success and embrace failure, because failure feels familiar, but success is another territory on its own. So you've lived with just enough for a long while, so much so that abundance now feels threatening. And your nervous system starts panicking when things start going well. And you feel this imposter syndrome where you question if you deserve what you have. Let me tell you, that's not fear of failure. That's not fear of failure. That's the fear of identity death. Because the moment you step into a new version of you, your old identity has to die. And the ego doesn't just die like that. But if you're serious about wealth, you have to let your old identity die. See, every creative has what I call an identity ceiling, and it is an invisible limit of how much success or wealth feels safe. Maybe for you, it's 300,000 a month, maybe for another person, it's $5,000 a month. Numbers does not matter. What matters is that once you reach that level, you subconsciously feel okay and you start maintaining it. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain has said, we have reached it. That's why the rich keeps getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. Because for a rich man, $10 million is ceiling, and you 300K is your ceiling. That is why you still remain in that same space. So we are still in the introduction part of this wealth identity shift for creatives, and I'll have to end it here. So I'll be dropping the series 2 very soon. Just stick around, subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on your notifications, and make sure you tell me what you learned about this identity shift I just talked about. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, comment, and share this video to somebody.